Hello, podcast fam. I am thrilled to share some exciting news. My book, So Grow Lead, is officially live on Amazon. This book is more than just my story of starting a nonprofit and building a peanut butter factory in Malawi. So trust me, the ups and downs of that journey are worth the read. It's also packed with practical strategies to help nonprofit leaders like you tackle challenges with clarity, courage, and a whole lot of heart. If you've ever wondered how to turn your vision into reality, navigate the inevitable hurdles, and build something meaningful, whether in your organization or in your own life, this book is for you. I'd be so grateful for your support in spreading the word. Grab your copy of So Grow Lead in the show notes and on Amazon today. Let's keep sowing seeds of impact together. Welcome to the Lead with Heart podcast, which is dedicated to nonprofit leaders who are passionate about making a difference. I'm your host, Haley Cooper, and I'm thrilled to have you join us on a journey of growth, inspiration, and transformation. At Lead with Heart, we believe that leading with heart means embracing empathy, compassion, and authenticity in every aspect of our work. It's about putting people first, fostering genuine connections, and creating a positive impact that goes beyond numbers and metrics. In the nonprofit world, it can often feel like we're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. The challenges are immense and the road can be lonely. But here, you're not alone. This podcast is a community where we support each other, share our stories, and learn together. Each episode will dive into personal and professional development topics tailored specifically for nonprofit leaders. From innovative fundraising strategies and effective team management to self-care practices and leadership insights, we're here to provide you with practical strategies that you can apply to your life and work. My goal is to empower you, elevate your leadership, and engage your heart in all that you do. I want to help you navigate the unique challenges of the nonprofit sector with confidence and resilience, so you can continue to create meaningful change in the world. So whether you're driving to a meeting, taking a break, or winding down for the day, tune in and join us on this journey. Together we'll discover what it truly means to lead with heart. Thank you for being here. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Lead with Heart podcast. This is your host, Haley Cooper, and I am very excited today for my conversation with Shimrit on the podcast today because we share a lot of commonalities. Like I was saying off screen, I personally like to have these conversations because they fascinate me, and I hope they will fascinate you as well. She is a certified ICF coach and Procter Gallagher consultant whose journey defies convention and showcases the power of transformation. From living off the grid in nature without basic amenities to building a thriving six-figure coaching business, she has navigated multiple lifetimes of wisdom. And I am excited to dive into all things burnout, stress, intuition, and how you can align both your personal and professional life. So let's get started. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Haley. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so excited for the conversation we're just about to have.
Well, your journey is nothing short of extraordinary, so I have to ask more. You from living in nature without amenities to building a successful six-figure business. Can you take us back to the beginning?
Well, the beginning. I'm guessing the beginning for this context would be that time when I lived off grid. I'm guessing that's where you're going. So yeah, that was in my early 20s. So this was well over 20 years ago. And at the time I was in my very early 20s, I decided to leave university. So I actually followed this passion that I now follow, right? To help people and help people be happier and live better lives. That's what led me to study psychology in university. But I really didn't like the environment, the campus, the whole structure of the studies that has very little to do with helping people when you go to study psychology in university. And so I dropped out and I decided to follow my passion of nature, which I always really wanted. And I got into a relationship with who then became my partner for 6 years. And I joined him in his very extreme lifestyle, living outdoors. We basically lived in something, it's not really a hut. It's a very big space. It's more like a warehouse, maybe, but without any facilities, no toilet or shower or kitchen, or we had running water, tap water and electricity, but that's about it. So I would collect wood and chop wood for fire to cook and to warm the water to then take a shower in the with the bucket. And the orchard was our bathroom. And it was a very extreme lifestyle. But that is where I actually found access to another passion that I had that was not fulfilled, which was music. So I was always a very advanced music listener, and I always had friends who were musicians, but I never was a musician myself. I always wanted to play the flute. And so out there in this lifestyle with this partner with this guy who was my partner, who was an artist himself, a blacksmith, I found my way to start playing the flute. I taught myself playing flute, and I went deeper and deeper into that path until I wanted to become a professional musician. That became my absolute passion. And that led me to leave that life and leave that relationship as well and go into the university again to study music. And I basically had over 20 years of a musical career. So I was not in business in any shape or form. I was a musician and I was teaching music. I became a music teacher as well, and a performer and a composer and all of the things, and a singer and songwriter and a jazz musician. And fast forward to my late 30s, this other passion that I mentioned before of helping people and connecting with people in deep ways, and knew that I had the gift for that since a very young age, since really childhood. This passion started burning again, stronger and stronger. And at some point, I decided to let go of my musical career and really listen to a guidance that I was receiving through my senses and my dreams, and in all the ways that we receive guidance from our soul or the universe or God, whatever you want to call that source of information. And I wasn't really sure what that would look like. I just knew that this was the direction that I needed to follow. And I just waited and asked for more clarity. What should I do next? And that path unfolded to really becoming a coach and collecting all kinds of tools, certifications, and so on, and started coaching. And realized that I want to do that in a greater scale to reach more people, to create a bigger impact. And that led me into making this into a business. And that's where I am today, with a beautiful community and a business and working with people all over the world. And I'm very grateful for this whole journey.
Wow, you are so strong and courageous and just so brave for really listening to that inner guidance, which I think is hard for a lot of people to do, but you trusted it and you listened to it, and it's evolved in so many different ways, but it sounds like it's been what has been meant for you in each moment or each time.
Yes, I think that you're hitting the nail on its head with this point, because it's really about following the guidance that we receive and trusting that. And that guidance doesn't have to come in some great mystical way, as in a revelation or being appearing and telling us what to do, or even not in a dream or anything like that. It can just be a desire, just wanting something. And this feeling of desire is the voice of our soul. Most of us, for the most part, we're not taught that this is actually the most valuable feeling that we can have, that we should prioritize this above all else and follow it into the unknown. And it always leads us to the unknown, because we want something that we don't yet have, that is not already in the known for us. And so I'm very grateful to have always had naturally that trust, I guess, and that faith. That many times when I say that, I also want to say something that I always say, that faith and trust, these are skills. So I am fortunate to have had this kind of naturally for whatever reason. And still, as the more I grow, the more that needs to grow too, because the leaps of faith that I am called to take are greater, because I have a very big vision and I'm going after my dreams in greater and greater ways. However, if anyone listening to us, right, and they might not feel like they have a great sense of trust or faith, and they would love to do all kinds of things, but that faith and that trust is a skill. It's something that we develop. It doesn't necessarily have to be just a gift that you have. And if you don't, then you have to settle for what is. You develop that. So I also want to say that because, yeah, it's important to understand it, I think, that it's a skill. Something that I many times share when I say what I just said is, so I come from Israel originally. So my native language, I live in Germany, as we spoke before we started this conversation, like the recorded conversation. I share with you that I live in Berlin in Germany, but we moved here, me and my family, 8.5 years ago from Israel, where I've lived most of my life. And so my native language is Hebrew. And in Hebrew, different words come from the same root, the same 2 or 3 letter root. And sometimes these are different words totally in their like apparent meaning, but that same root that they share actually reveals a deeper meaning and a deeper truth. And so the words faith and trust and belief all come from the same 3-letter root as the words practice and art and mastery. So isn't that so interesting that this language, this ancient language, actually reveals what I just said, the point that was important for me to make, that this is a skill, right? It's a skill that you can practice and master. And you know what that 3-letter root is? Amen. This word that we all use universally to give thanks or to praise or to pray. In Hebrew, you say amen, same word. And that's the 3-letter root for all these words that I mentioned. Isn't that cool?
That's beautiful. I'd never heard that before. And I think when we're talking about like the trust and intuition, I have 3 young kids, and I feel like I am relearning how to like trust and have that intuition because specifically my 3-year-old is so intuitive. Like he is so in touch with his body. If he gets anxious, he feels it in his body and he trusts that. And I feel like you have to almost like rediscover that skill because we had it when we were little. And then somewhere along the way, we lost that ability to have that faith and that trust and that intuition.
Absolutely. We have it. We didn't lose it. We just forgot how to use it. So we are spiritual beings. I'm just guessing that you are resonating with that and that your audience would resonate with that statement for the most part, right? And so we are spiritual beings, and as human beings, we have this instrument with which we express spirit or life and then experience it. That's what it means that we are creators. We are conscious creators, or we can be conscious creators. So as little babies and children, when we are born, this instrument is new to us, and we are almost pure spirit in a way, right? So it's kind of that intuition, that free flow of information coming from source is free flowing. And as we grow up, because our environment is for the most part ignorant of the universal laws and our spiritual nature and our ability to use this instrument to consciously create and all of those things, I don't know about you, but I have great parents, loving, supporting. And they always told me you can be whoever you want to be. And I'm very fortunate in that sense. But they did not teach me about, spirituality and universal laws and metaphysics and quantum physics, all of those things. They just didn't know. And so we forget. We learn from our environment because we need to adapt to it. And what we learn is, for the most part, how to use the physical body. So to focus on the information coming from the physical senses and to adapt in certain ways in terms of how we behave and what we believe and so on. And we are not taught to trust that intuition and to trust the unseen. And we are many times taught the opposite, actually. So your kid is probably very fortunate to have you as his mom support his intuitiveness.
Yeah. Isn't that the definition of faith, is trusting what you can't see?
It's exactly that. Right? In the Bible, it says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So it's the substance, the energy that everything is made of, which now, a few thousand years after this was written, we know it. That's quantum physics. We know that everything is energy. We know that every atom is 99.9999999% energy. We know that everything is first created in the unified field and then projected into the physical reality. And so faith is literally the substance of those things that we want but hasn't yet materialized. And when we feel it, like your son, it's evident of what is yet unseen. But we were not taught to trust that as evidence. We are taught and programmed to trust the seen evidence, the physical evidence. And if it's not there, then we doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And when we're talking about intuition in like the simplest terms, can you define what that means?
I think that intuition, I can define it in different ways. One way that is maybe more catchy and fun is it's like our open line or a hotline with God or with our soul. Use whatever word fits you there, but it's like intuition is our hotline with source. It's where we receive information and it's always open. We can always connect. And again, that's a skill, right? So even if one is listening to this, yeah, I don't know how to connect. Yes, but that's a skill. You also didn't know how to ride a bike or drive your car, and now you do. It's a skill. You can develop that. So that's one definition of intuition. It's just our communication line, channel, if you will, or tool, if you will, with the source, with whatever word fits. And if you're not very spiritual and you don't like all these words like source and spirit and God and soul, then you can say with infinite intelligence, with the unified field, with whatever, like there are scientific terms that we can use to replace the spiritual ones if needed, because thankfully science is catching up and learning how to explain all these, which is really what most people need, again, because we are programmed to need the physical evidence or the scientific proof and so on. But yeah, that's what intuition is. It's we call this sometimes the sixth sense, right? And I for a really good reason, because it is as vital and essential to our overall well-being and our ability to create well-being for us as human beings. It's as vital and essential as any one of the other five senses, right? If we cannot see or hear or smell or taste or touch, that's a disability. That's how we call it, right? We call it a disability. It's some ability that is disabled, that is eliminated, right? Of course, you can create a beautiful life also with these disabilities, but it's not the same challenge for sure. And so the sixth sense, as we call intuition, it's not to have that is a disability too. It's just like we're not used to thinking about this as being as vital as any one of our other five senses, but it is.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And there have been very distinct times in my life where that hotline has been very open. And I've talked a lot about it in my personal life, but also professionally, I think. How I started in nonprofits was called to go to Malawi and start a peanut butter factory, which was like never on my agenda. I was called to adopt a child. I've been now like I have these visions, and it was scary, right? To say yes, to jump in, to do these things. But the reward was so much greater once I said yes and had the courage to do it. So if someone's listening to this and they're like, we just had a download of this great vision, but I don't have the resources or the skills. Maybe they think they don't have the skills, right? To implement this, what is the first step that someone should take towards making that vision a reality?
Yes, exactly. One of my mentors was Bob Proctor, and he always said, fear and faith both demand of us to trust in something that we don't know, like you said yourself earlier about faith, right? So fear is the same thing. It also is a belief in something that hasn't yet happened. So fear and faith are both the same. They are polar opposites, and they both demand of us to believe in something that hasn't yet happened. So what you just said, if you have this calling, if you have this inkling and you don't know if you have the resources or how it will all work out, now this can either trigger fear. I don't know how I'm going to make that happen. I don't know if this will work out, if I leave my job, if I say yes to this opportunity, whatever it may be. I fear that will be painful. That will be a failure. That will be a loss. Yes. Or you have faith. There's no difference. You're believing in something that hasn't yet happened. You're just programmed to choose fear, maybe, if you're like most people, because of programming, because of for our survival, basically.
Imagine a fundraising partner that not only helps you raise more money, but also supports you in retaining your donors. A partner that helps you raise funds both online and on location so you can grow your impact faster. That's DonorBox, a comprehensive suite of tools, services, and resources that give fundraisers just like you a custom solution to tackle your unique challenges, helping you achieve the growth and sustainability your organization needs. Helping you help others. Visit donorbox.org to learn more. Yeah, definitely. And if you think of, we are wired to see the negative first, right? Or have that response to environmental stimulus. It's just how we're wired. But like you said, we can retrain ourselves, choose faith.
Yeah, we can. And we should. I think that this is the highest skill of all, really, to train ourselves to choose faith, that skill, that mastery that we were talking about. That's it. That's the greatest purpose of life as human beings, because that means that we are fulfilling our capacity and potential to be conscious creators, to create the life that we want. And what is more noble and worthy than that?
Yeah. And when you talk about conscious creating or a conscious creator, what does that mean and what does that look like?
Well, it looks like whatever you desire. So now we're starting to connect some dots together, right? Depends on what the desire is. What is that calling? What is that inspiration that you receive, that inspired idea that you receive as to what you want? And again, this can be a noble thing as adopting a child, or I don't know, whatever, something that has a lot of contribution to other people, one person or many. And it can also just be a house or a car or a lifestyle. It doesn't matter. The desire is life-seeking expression through us. And being a conscious creator would look like whatever that desire may be. And in order to bring that desire into fruition, you then must have faith. You then must develop this skill. Otherwise, you will not bring something new from the unknown into your known life, and you will stay in what we many times call the comfort zone, right? Because it's very uncomfortable to go after something new and take that leap of faith. It's by definition uncomfortable.
Yeah. So let's say, maybe these are selfish questions that I'm asking for things that I'm experiencing, but let's say you have this vision, you have this download, you have this great idea, you're really excited about it, and you start sharing it with other people, and they're like, that's never going to work, or that's not the best idea, or there's just some, not just necessarily discouragement, but hesitation. And you're like, but I feel really convicted about this. Like, I prayed about it, or whatever your belief system is, like how you access your line to, I'm a Christian, so I believe in God and I believe in prayer and things like that, right? And I have these strong convictions, but then people are like doubting you. How do you turn off the noise? And how do you distinguish whether it's what you're at, like you're actually listening to your intuition, you're like, I'm not crazy, I swear this is what I'm supposed to be doing? And then how do you turn off the noise and keep pressing forward to make it a reality?
That's such a good question. Well, first of all, I would definitely recommend not talking to those people, or minimize as much as you can. First of all, minimize the conversations you're having with these people as much as possible. Now, if this person is your husband or your mom or something like that, I'm aware can be more challenging, but still you can choose other topics to talk about as much as possible. Truly, you want to stand guard at the gate of your subconscious mind, because these suggestions coming from your environment are very detrimental to your well-being and to your ability and capacity to create what you want. So you have to make a choice. What is more important, being nice, being polite, being pleasing, or being a conscious creator and fulfilling your your destiny, whatever it may be, that is assigned to you by God, if that's what I believe. And you know that through those desires and those inspired ideas, what that destiny is. And so you have to make the decision, what is more important. And if you have to have those conversations or be in that environment, it's really important to then balance it, right? So to have conversations like we're having here more. And it doesn't have to be a conversation with someone. It can be listening. So listening to a podcast like this, listening to whatever is the resource of information. I call this to saturate your mind with truth. So I'm in the habit for many years now to always, when I drive my son to school, or like after I drop him off, when I drive back, or when I walk my dog, or like in like idle times like that, I always press play on whatever it is that I'm currently listening to, an audiobook, whatever, and just listen to that resource and listen to things also on repetition. So the same thing over and over again, it really seeps in to your subconscious. And then instead of just driving and ruminating on that conversation you had with your husband or your mom, let's say, with my theoretical example for your question, instead of ruminating and playing that conversation over and over again, or playing worst case scenario over and over again and things like that, you saturate your mind with truth, with what you know is true, but you only know it mentally and not yet fully embodying it enough to not let that other conversation, that, limiting conversation, to influence you. And so you want to balance it out this way, and all kinds of practices. So there's a whole practice for this skill on how to develop that. And another kind of trick that you can have is to maybe have a song that makes you happy, for example, or an image in your mind that makes you happy. And while having that conversation with your mom or your husband, actually play that song in your mind at the same time. Don't let them know that you're doing that, but actually you are, again, guarding your subconscious from that influence and putting that song, let's say, as the guard or the screen. Yeah, that's really important to do that. Really important to guard your mind.
Yeah, that's a good one. My song is always Higher Love by Whitney Houston for some reason, but I love that song. And it's like, there's so much destruction in the world, but there has to be a higher love. So maybe I just need to focus on that higher love when I'm having these conversations.
I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs. It's such a good song. Do you like the remix version of it?
Yes, with Kygo.
Yeah, it's so good. Yes, that's a good pick for sure.
Yeah. Are there any other practices, let's say, because a lot of nonprofit leaders, most of my listeners are CEOs, founders, they're leading their nonprofits, they're visionaries, right? Like they have this vision to create change in the world. And I think sometimes we get so bogged down in the day-to-day, the to-do list, the stress of trying to solve the world's hardest problems. What practices do you teach your clients to take a step back and come back to that vision, come back to that why? Because I believe that it is a practice, right? And we have to continue to come back to that to then come up with more ideas. I read a quote by James Clear, and when you were saying you are driving or you put on an audiobook, it wasn't about our best ideas come in the shower. It's not that you need to take more showers, it's that you need more pause. And I know that happens to me. I'm like voice noting like while I'm like on a walk or something, because all the ideas come and I'm like, I got to write that down or else I'll forget it. So what are some practices, long story short, like that you teach your clients to come back to that vision? Hey there, podcast family. If you're like me and deeply committed to improving your leadership skills and fostering better connections with your team, I've got something truly amazing to share with you. I'm proud to introduce the EMC Masterclass, something I talk about often as a certified trainer. It's an incredible program developed by the renowned Dr. Lola Gershfield, an organizational psychologist and corporate emotional connection expert. You might remember her from a podcast episode where she shared invaluable insights into the world of emotional connection. Dr. Gershfeld's EMC Leaders courses are designed for anyone working with people, whether you're a manager, supervisor, team leader, educator, coach, mentor, or a team member. This program is truly for everyone looking to enhance their communication and collaboration skills to raise more revenue for their mission. Now, let me tell you why the EMC Masterclass is a game changer. Dr. Gershfeld's groundbreaking emotional connection process has been integrated into top universities' curriculum and recognized by international organizations like ICF, HRCI, and SHRM. Humans are wired to seek emotional safety, and when we feel safe, we're more likely to take risks, share innovative ideas, and collaborate effectively. The EMC process is the catalyst for creating that emotional safety within your team. The virtual EMC Masterclass consists of 8 modules with 4 hours of expertly recorded material, 13 quizzes to reinforce your learning, and a workbook filled with activities for offline practice and something I still refer to daily. Ready to become an emotional connection master? Dr. Gershfeld is offering an exclusive detail for our podcast listeners. Use the code LEADWITHHEART to enjoy a generous 10% discount on the EMC Masterclass. Head over to emcleaders.com and enroll in the EMC Masterclass today.
Well, it's a daily practice, first of all. So it's important that the repetition again is there. It's a combination of a few things. One of them we already mentioned, the study, I call it. So that's that saturating your mind with truth. And then having, first of all, a very clear vision, right? So having it as detailed as possible, as clear as possible, then breaking it down to smaller goals that you can work towards, visualizing. So every day spending time in your imagination. One of the authors, the teachers that I love the most is Neville Goddard. He called our imagination Christ within us. It is as far as he went, and he meant it literally. That is Christ, our imagination, Christ within us. And so your imagination can take you anywhere. You create whatever you want with your imagination. And so you want to use that, and you want to spend time there and really visualize that vision and allow yourself to get emotionally involved with that vision. Also, you can find different little signals that trigger that feeling. So let's say if someone has a vision of creating a life of abundance and financial freedom. So even if you're not there yet, you can still have small experiences that give you that feeling. Like, I don't know, going and having a cup of coffee in the lounge or the lobby of a 5-star hotel. So yeah, it will be a slightly more expensive coffee, but you can afford $5 more expensive coffee. You might not be able to afford a room in that hotel, but you can definitely afford a coffee, and you can sit there once a week and have the feeling of that opulent environment. And while you're there, write your vision and get all into it. And being in that environment will ignite the feeling because, of course, it's all about the feeling. So you want to find ways to ignite that feeling as you're tapping into the vision. And then, of course, you want to talk to yourself like that version of yourself in that vision. So autosuggestion is a really important practice. Just repeating. I know affirmations alone won't change that. It's the feeling that to ignite again. But all of these pieces together are important, right? Again, it's a skill. So just if you are learning any skill, like if you're learning how to master a musical instrument, you will practice chords and you will practice scales and you will practice this exercise and this exercise. And it's the combination of all these different practices that develop the skill. And so in a similar way, it's not affirmations alone. It's not meditation alone. It's not this or that. It's a combination and the consistency and the repetition that will develop that skill of living in the vision and then bringing it into reality.
Yeah, I love that idea of feelings. I had a coach once say, you set a goal, but then what is the feeling that you will experience? And then start feeling that way. If you're going to feel financially abundant, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And then you start living as if you're feeling that way. And then it'll come into fruition. And you guide clients to connect with their intuition by also setting achievable, practical goals. So how do you guide your clients to do that? Because I know when I have a vision for something I want to do next February, and I'm like, I need it all laid out. Like I need a clear path of how this is all going to go, the people that are going to be involved, and then ground it back in reality. So how do you, blend both intuition with that need for specific goals and outcomes?
Yes, that's such a good question, because the thing is that many times when we set goals, then we start focusing on the gap between where we're at and that goal. And we actually lose touch with our intuition and our faith and all of that, because we experience the gap. Oh, I've set a goal to reach this point by this time. And now look how much has gone already. And I'm not closer as close as I want, and so on. So that's the tricky part, right? To set a goal and then stay connected to your intuition, as you said. And so that's, again, part of the skill. And so you want to have the vision as big and grand as you can grasp it. And that is the greater context. And from there, you want to, I call it, to crystallize the goals as stepping stones that take you to that vision. So you want to stay connected with the bigger vision, as grand and big as your imagination can hold it. And then focus at the same time on the next step you're going to take, like your goal for next month or your goal for 3 months from now. And still hold both of them in your mind. Yeah, so you have the biggest context that, is your lifetime vision, and then you work towards smaller goals. And also remember that goals are for us to grow, right? That's another thing that Bob always used to say about Proctor. Goals are for us to grow, not for us to get. Now, Bob was very much goal-oriented. That's what he was all about. So he did not say that to release anyone from being committed to their goal, not at all. But still remembering that it's not about the getting, it's about the growth, it's about the journey. Something else that I love recalling is from Kobe Bryant, whom I love. And he always said, there's so many reels of him saying this in different ways, that there is no such thing as failure. And he explains it in a really cool way. He says, if you lose a game, that sucks. So of course, as athletes, goals is the thing, right? You have a game or a race or whatever, and your goal is to win, obviously. So you're very competitive and you're very much a goal-oriented. So if you lose a game, that sucks and it feels bad. But then you wake up next morning and you go to practice and you practice for the next one. You're not going to stop your career because you lost a game. You do it because you love it. And then if you win a game, that's amazing. That's the best feeling in the whole world. But guess what? The next morning you wake up and you go to practice. So it doesn't really matter. The journey is the journey, and you do it because you love it. So you want to have goals because that's what leads you to grow. That's what takes you on the journey. If you don't set a destination, then there is no journey. Then you're just drifting, just wandering. So the goal creates the journey, but then it's about the journey. And that keeps that balance. And then that releases the resistance to, I got to get there, I got to get there, I got to get there, which allows the intuition to be accessible. And you can tap back into that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never heard that about Kobe Bryant. I'm in Southern California, so I'm a Lakers girl, and my husband went to his last game. May he rest in peace. But yeah, he has a lot of good inspiration about mindset when it comes to performance. And there's a lot to learn. So for those who are listening who feel maybe overwhelmed or stuck, what's one practical step they can take today to start creating, or consciously creating, I should say, a life that resonates more deeply with their personal values and goals?
A practice that they can start today. Well, I would say spend every day, if it's just someone starting out with this, start with spending every day just a few minutes with a pen in your hand, because writing helps you to focus. And just write out what it is that you want. Just write it out. Just spend 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes just writing about what you want. And if you don't know, then just be with that question and allow the answers to come, even if it feels silly or whatever. With practice, more clarity will come. Just write about what you want. Let that come through. And what is important here, though, is to do it consistently, to do it in writing, the specific action or exercise, and to do it in present tense and positive words only. So don't talk about what you don't want, which is, for unskilled people, that are new to this, I talk to a lot of people, and so often when I ask someone what they want, they answer to me what they don't want. It's like automatic, again, because we're programmed for that. So I ask, okay, tell me about your vision. Yeah, so you see, the last few years or all my life I've been like this, and right now I'm struggling with that. And of course, there's room to talk about what is, and it's very important to do that too. But whoever's listening to this and taking on this challenge of doing this every day or as often as you can, pay attention that you're writing what it is that you want and not what you don't want, even to the point of not writing something like, I am no longer anxious and I am no longer broke and I am no longer in pain. No, write what is. I am happy and I'm at ease and I'm abundant and I'm healthy and vital. Just talk about the opposite, polar opposite of what you don't. If your mind is going to what you don't want, then just pay attention to that and switch it to the polar positive opposite, and in present tense. So I'll recap. Spend a few days every day with a pen and a paper, writing down what it is that you want. If you're not sure, just ask the question and let's whatever it is come through. Write it in present tense and positive words only.
That's so good. I love that. If people want to follow the work that you do, where can they find you?
Well, thank you for asking. We will share, I'm sure, in the notes of the episode, some links, right? So I think if you want to contact me directly, best would be to go to my Instagram and send me a message. And I would love to connect. If you want to have meditation you can tap into, then I would love to share with you. There's a meditation that I love sharing that is called Moving Energy Beyond the Senses. So it will just help you tap into that unseen that we talked about today and to what it is that you want, and use this sixth sense of yours in different ways. So you can write me the word energy and I'll send you that meditation. And then if you want to go deeper, we can share another link that will take them to a 3 days workshop. So it's 3 sessions with some integration work, and it's more like a deeper process than one meditation. And yeah, that will be a great place to start, either of those.
Yeah, we will make sure to link them all in the show notes. I'm going to follow you on Instagram and
yes, please.
DM you energy, because I need that too. This has been, like I said in the beginning, these conversations are always so fascinating for me. I have learned so much today, and I know my listeners have as well. Just thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. I loved every minute. Thank you so much for this.
If you have valued these stories or learned something from what you've heard, please share this podcast episode or follow me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for your support, and together we can build a better community and world.